Well, hello there. Welcome to the Obi Thorn Alliance. I'm Jacob,
And I'm Luke.
and in today's video, we are discussing and reviewing Turner Hooch on Disney Plus. Comment down below your thoughts about the show. Did you like it? Didn't you like it? Let's get the comment discussion going. Subscribe, it helps out the channel a lot to be notified for the next coming video. I guess we'll summarize for what Turner Hooch is for, who will like this show. I think it's definitely for families and lovers for who grew up with the original movie. I would probably say the original movie is probably better, but this job still does show still does a good job. I think families can definitely enjoy that. It doesn't have too much violence, doesn't have too much blood, gore, swearing, all that stuff. How did you find it, Luke, being someone with a family yourself?
It was definitely a family-friendly show, which is one of the things that made it good and bad at the same time. I guess there was times where I think a bit more like gore or action would have been nice, but then the fact that it didn't have that is what made it appealing to more people, I guess. It's a show that you can't take too serious. It's a crime-fighting dog, and the dog seems to save the day all the time, which is how often will that happen in real life? But for the sake of the show and entertainment purposes, it does work. So, summarise what the show is for those that may not have seen it already.
Basically, it's kind of a sequel, but it does its own thing from the movie. Scott Turner is the son of Tom Hanks' character by the same name in the movie, and he's a U.S. Marshal, and he's got the rights of the dog from the original movie. Not the exact same dog, but yeah, the same dog, and they basically do canine unit and solve crimes, and there's this big evolving story throughout the show that keeps you going and keeps you wanting to watch the show. So
the show picks up from well after the movie had occurred. Tom Hanks' character's since retired and sadly passed away whilst possibly investigating a crime in his retired days, but we're not sure as the show begins. And one of his last requests was that his son was to look after his new dog Hooch, which isn't meant to be the same Hooch. He'd had several dogs since then, and Hooch was one he adopted from the pound, and he wanted Scott, his son, to take him and hopefully have the same connection he did with Hooch when he was younger. And as Jacob said, there's a developing overarching crime that goes throughout, that lasts throughout all the episodes, but each individual episode has its own separate crime or issue that Scott and Hooch have to solve, whilst also investigating the bigger crime that his dad kind of died whilst trying to solve. Did I miss anything, or anything you'd like to add to that summary?
I guess that I would say the side characters are probably more interesting than the main character. I don't know if that's on purpose, but I definitely felt like that.
Yeah. So if you had to give this show a verdict, a rating, what are we thinking before we get into a discussion about it more?
I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. It does what it's supposed to do. Like, that's what the best thing about it is. It doesn't try to do anything fancy, but you could argue that we live in today's society that you kind of want a show to stand out, but sometimes it's just nice to watch something that it just does what it's supposed to. You can watch it while do something else and still be entertained. So it's not amazing, but it's not terrible.
I'm thinking just a bit higher. I'm going to go 3.5, just because I enjoyed it maybe a bit more, and I probably have more things I could pick out about it than you, but overall I enjoyed it, and mainly the same reason. You just got to accept that it's not a masterpiece. There's flaws in it, but was it enjoyable? And I think I liked it because I didn't have to give it my full attention whilst watching it, because it wasn't complex. It didn't require second viewings. It didn't require much explanation. It was just, there's the crime, and of course the dog will save the day. And even though that seems repetitive and you could say that's a negative, I quite liked it because you knew what you're going to expect, and it is tailored towards, I think, a younger audience. So for that, I think it does what it's meant to do. So that's why I'm going to give it that kind of rating. Because if you were to ask a kid to give the rating of this show what they thought, I reckon they might say it's much higher because they enjoyed it. They're not going to nitpick the things that we did in it, because it's not for us, it's for them. So that's why I think it's a 3.5. Moving into some spoilers, let's discuss some of the things we did like or didn't like about the show, things we may have changed. What do you think is worth talking about first?
I think the main thing that it, I guess, does well in a certain way is that the main plot isn't so confusing that you go, oh, this is too confusing for its target audience, but it keeps you propelled well enough to want to keep watching. So that's a positive. And also some individual episodes are better than others, what could be a good thing or bad thing. I would say the main negative about the show is that Scott Turner, his character has two love interests, and how the writers decided to go with that, I felt they didn't do it in a good enough way that you felt it got resolved. It's basically what will they do in season 2? What I personally didn't like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. We had that set up love interest, and they kept teasing it, and it was perfect. It should have ended with that, and we didn't get that ending. So is that it just dragging out another season and giving reason for that? I think so. That was my one little issue I had with the show. Beyond that, yeah, there's the little nitpicks of the dog and how realistic it is, but that's fine. You know that. You expect that's what the show's about. You wouldn't watch it otherwise. But I think that's something they could have changed. It would have made me feel a bit differently about the show.
Yeah, and how they made the first relationship, the lawyer, basically, how they made her likable and then basically changed it from she likes going out with Scott and Hooch, and then basically made it that she basically made an ultimatum, and then obviously Scott was going to choose Hooch, so it was kind of a writer's situation of basically, it felt very forced to a point when it felt that she wouldn't have chose that decision. The writer wrote that situation for the sake of it. So,
I agree. What do you think about the overarching crime, that the what they solve at the end of the day, the main part of the show, really?
It works for the show because it is a dog-focused show. Would the main villain intended to do that with the whole dog, I guess you can say, dogs fighting dogs? I don't know if that would have been a thing that the villain would have chose to do, but it makes sense for the show because it's a show focused on dogs, and it makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's probably the perfect crime they could have picked. I guess maybe like drug trafficking or something would have been an easy one to do, but then explaining that to kids, because really none of the crimes inside the show involved murder or drugs. They were like someone escaped, like kidnappings. I guess there was someone that was possibly going to get taken out by an assassin, but it was all pretty family friendly. I guess because they don't want kids asking too many questions to their parents about, oh, what's drugs and what's this? So I think the dog fighting was probably a kind of a perfect one if you think about it that way. But I guess the journey we went on solving the crime was okay. What did you enjoy more, the main crime or the individual episodes?
Some individual episodes I thought were better, like the hacker one, the one with the autistic boy, but they didn't really add anything. Like the main plot, even though it was far-fetched, it still kept you wanting to keep watching. So I guess the main plot.
Yeah, and it gives it like a sense of order of how it should be watched and feel like you're following something. But do you think this show has longevity? Like, do you think because each episode is kind of individual, they can keep dragging that out?
Yeah, I would like there to be a season 2, but I don't know. It's a sort of show that I don't know how they can keep dragging out the seasons. I guess Scott Turner is in charge of the K9 unit or something on those lines.
Yeah, and do you think each season now has to have one long storyline that follows throughout now that they've just done that with season 1?
I guess you expect that, but no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I guess they could be individual episodes and the ongoing storyline can be the main character's relationship or external life or something that you can follow on with, but I guess it doesn't have to be something major like solving an external crime to his work. Or I guess maybe next season they could have some kind of a villain. It may be someone they encounter early on and then they spend the whole season trying to capture him, or he just keeps like creating drama for them. That could be their next move.
What was your standout episode?
I liked the hacker one just because it was different and then we kind of came to like the villain. But some of the other ones are cool, and I guess throughout we found out that Hooch had all these amazing abilities that he could sense if someone's blood pressure was low or their heart was having an issue or the barometric pressure was dropping in a building, or whether like someone had like some kind of sensor on it that had like high pitch, and all these different things he could pick up that, and you go, well, he's very well trained for a dog that was found at the pound. But I guess that for me, the hacker one was different than the others because it was more about Hooch didn't have necessarily a special ability in that one. He actually didn't save the day really in that episode at all. It was Scott who rescued the dog from the burning car. So yeah, so that was probably the standout for me. Yourself?
Yeah, probably that one and the one with the autism boy, yeah. Any favourite character in this show that was a standout?
I think X, his partner, was probably the coolest character. Not necessarily that the performance was amazing or he was just a special character. He was just the most likeable one, I think, and was the most different than everyone else. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. Do you feel like this sort of show, if it does get cancelled, do you see yourself being more upset because how they chose to end it, or basically the cliffhanger is that we don't know if they're going to get together, the dog trainer and Scott? That's how I see the cliffhanger.
I don't think I'd be disappointed if that's how it ended. But I think we will get another season. That's how it will finish. How many future seasons, I don't know. But I think they just wanted to bring to life something from the past and see how it went. And I don't know. It's hard to judge how popular something is when it's on streaming services, because you only really hear about the really, really popular shows, but you don't hear about the other ones along the way. So whether it's been a success, I don't know how they measure it, but I've enjoyed it so far.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Well, thank you for helping, Luke. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know if you would like there to be a season 2 or not. See you in the next video. Like and subscribe. Let the force be with you. Bye bye.